We got up to, if you go to the beginning of Gates of Trust, we're up to Bahachamishi. If you following inside, James, have you been able to put a link on Safari? Is there a Safari link to this book yet? Do we know that?
Oh, to the
Safari. So if there's a link, let's see if we can put it there. Be awesome. Otherwise, get your own book, everybody. Get this book called Gates of Trust. And let's learn. Here we go. So we've been doing the Rabbeinu Bachai has been comparing the following. He's been comparing the person with bitachon to what he calls an alchemist. An alchemist over here, we're referring to essentially, I would say a modern day alchemist would be maybe like a drug dealer. Basically someone where it's very easy to make money. Someone where it's super easy to make money. And therefore, in theory, the person who is very easy to make money has nothing to worry about because his money's coming in. He's just, dealing the drugs and no problem. But money is coming in right, left, and center. Maybe if any of you've got other ideas of what we can use as another comparison to an alchemist, basically someone who's doing a bit of trickery to earn money very quickly. I don't need to be rude about other people's professions. I don't say any lashon hara on Shivas of Tammuz. But if you can think of a modern day alchemist, I think a criminal, I really think a criminal, someone who's through criminal activity is making money. So on one hand, you might think, oh, they never have to worry. On the other hand, there's huge problems. So says the Chovos HaLevavos, the fifth advantage, that's where we're up to. The fifth advantage of bitachon over alchemy, James, I said, you have to behave yourself. Oh, you've got to listen to the rabbi. Okay. That an alchemist, on account of the illegal nature, is still worried that someone's maybe going to harm him, that he's now one of the lowest civilians in the population. In other words, he's still always looking around his shoulders. Yes, the criminal isn't worried about what's in the bank, but is worried about, is he going to live tomorrow? Is he going to be in prison tomorrow? Whereas the one with bitachon, the one who has trust in Hashem, the one who has trust in Hashem is the opposite. Because we're going to learn a beautiful thing now. There's a Mishnah Pirkei Avos which says, my friends, Ezehu mechubed, who is respected? And it says the person who's respected is the one who respects others. And I'll add to it what the Chovos HaLevavos is adding. Someone with real trust in Hashem is respected. When I see people in my life that have such beautiful bitachon, like I've spoken, there's one of my friends who, Best Hashem, should have a refuah shalema, Yonah ben Chai Bracha. And he's been diagnosed with terminal cancer, and he started chemo. And then when I spoke to him last week about how you're doing, he goes, and he meant it, and he was just genuine. I can't believe how kind Hashem is. And he wasn't being sarcastic. The way he was looking at how the chemo was working and all the positive things, he was just full of gratitude, which is amazing. He saw the glass half full, not half empty. And it puts us lot to shame when we're complaining and worrying about the most frivolous things. Therefore, says the Chovos HaLevavos, the person that has bitachon is admired. I so admire those with tremendous bitachon. I wish we could aspire when I just see even those who are going through I was with someone else last week and I said, how are you? And he goes, oh, amazing. Thank God, Hashem is so kind. I said, is everything okay? He goes, yeah, 75% is okay. And then I asked him what the 25% was. And then he goes on to say his wife's got cancer and his daughter is in a psychiatric hospital and the most terrible, horrific things, the saddest things. And yet he was still in a place of positivity. He was in a place of emunah. He was in a place of seeing the good. One of those things would be enough to devastate most of us. And he's got another child who's autistic. Literally, he's got more problems than we can possibly imagine. And yet he was just again full of thanks of Hashem. I admire people like that. If any of you are like that, that's when I would admire you. And the Chovos HaLevavos is saying those are those people who are to be admired, as opposed to criminals. Criminals would be Yes, maybe they've got money coming in and out, but they're definitely not admired. And the way he puts it, someone who's trusting Hashem, everybody, it could be the most common person is in trust of Hashem. Even the greatest leaders and noblemen are in awe of that person. That person will have tremendous respect. Tremendous respect. You know, my wife's uncle passed away last week. And anyone's interested, I'll show you an article on him. This was someone, he died in his 90s. Very quiet, simple person. But now all these, it's amazing. Well, after someone passes away, all the secrets start getting revealed. This was someone who was very close to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. When the Lubavitcher Rebbe would tell him to do something, the Lubavitcher Rebbe apparently gave him $30 from me, $30 from my wife, and the rest you're going to do. And you're going to build a new mikveh in your name. And you're going to publish a new Tanya. And he had such bitachon, this Uncle Bernard was his name, so much so that the Rebbe said to him, I think for your business, you're going to do well going to Scotland. Can you imagine the Lubavitcher Rebbe? What does he know about Scotland? But the Lubavitcher Rebbe obviously got a divine wisdom about Ruach HaKodesh about Scotland, told Uncle Bernard to go to Scotland, and he went and he started making tremendous money there because Uncle Bernard had tremendous bitachon, not just in Hashem, in the Rebbe, in Tzaddikim, and now his stories are being published. Everyone's in awe of him. In other words, that's what you're in awe of. The criminals, and do you know what's very sad? In today's culture, in Netflix culture, they glorify criminals and mafia criminals, and they're the ones who are seemingly in the showbiz world. They're the celebs. My dear friends, that's why Mashiach's not here, because we're living in what's called Olam HaSheker, the world of lies, where the wrong people are the ones who are lauded. His celebrity big brothers are lauded. The Love Islands are lauded. The pop stars are lauded, crying out loud. We should be living in a generation where those who are truly kind are lauded. Those who have bitachon in Hashem are lauded. Those who are wise, those who are humble. That's what we need to laud. That's what we need to look up to. That's what we need to aspire to. We have politicians who it's easier for them to lie, to tell the truth, and then everyone's still liking them and voting for them. We're living in a topsy-turvy world, my friends. For those who are listening, we need to change the tide. The time has come, everybody. Enough already. Maspeh, enough. How many more years are we going to have another fast on 17th of Tammuz and another fast on the 9th of Av? It should be enough already. We should be sick of it. We should say, we've got to turn the tide. We've got to start passing the message around the world that it's time to be kind and peaceful and truthful and connected to God. And that's why we're here. We're not here just to have fun and make money and be hedonistic and egotistical. Enough already. And the Chovos is obviously saying those with emunah and bitachon are the ones who should be looked up to. And you remember he's writing this 1,000 years ago. I think he'd get the shock of his life if he would see what's going on today. This great rabbi, Rabbeinu Bachai, if he would see what's going on today, 1,000 years after this, where the very opposite of what he's saying are the ones we're not just looking up to, you're voting them to be the leaders of our countries. It's unbelievable. And then he's got a beautiful quote from one of my favorite Tehillim. And again, it's a good opportunity to say this, my dear friends, if you ever need to remove the evil eye, if you feel you're in danger, one of the most powerful Tehillim is to say Tehillim 91. 91, write it down. 91 is one of the most important Tehillim. It's the one that Moses said, Moshe Rabbeinu said when he went up to heaven and he thought he was going to be attacked by the angels. It was to protect him from evil eye. And the Kabbalist behind me, Rabbi Hillel, told me to say the last line of Tehillim number 90 first. And then go Yosef B'Seisa Elyon. And by the way, for those who don't understand the Hebrew, to say the English is still super powerful. And therefore, this is what he says. It says, Yosef B'Seisa Elyon. From the beginning of the palm till its end, it's all about the person who places trust in Hashem. They're the ones who are safe from stones, from dangerous animals. No one can touch you, my friends. If you've got real emunah and bitachon in Hashem, you're untouchable. You're untouchable. It says the book of Job. In chapter 5, verse 19, from 6 travails he will save you. And in the 7th, no harm will reach you. In famine, he will deliver you from death. And in war, from the power of the sword. Until the end of the passage. In other words, if you want to have protection, you don't need insurance. You need bitachon. By the way, how cool, if anyone's starting a new insurance company, to name it bitachon, B-I-T-A-C-H-O-N. It will go so well, everybody. You'll do really well, I'm telling you. Okay, next one, 6. Says the Rabbeinu Bachai, the 6th advantage is the following. Again, the 6th advantage of why someone with bitachon is better off than a criminal, vis-a-vis in the area of tranquility and faith. He says, because the criminal can't be confident that he will never suffer from illness or affliction. Think about it, like a lot of people that are super wealthy, maybe even someone who's got inheritance, right? Someone who's received money and money's never a worry. Does that mean they'll never worry about anything else? Mapitom, it could well be that, God forbid, they could have illness or afflictions or problems with relationships. So many different challenges can come in that would mar the joy in his life. Let me ask you a question. If Hashem's giving you out cards like a game of poker, and there's one card, your health, another card about relationships, and another card about finances, how many of those 3 cards are all like amazing cards? How many do you have them all, or is like one of them a bit tricky, one of them a bit challenging? Normally there's at least one a bit challenging. And sometimes it's the 4th card, which is the spiritual card, which is the challenging one. But that's what it is. If people's got issues, normally when people come and speak to Rabbi Hill, I need to speak to you, I always know it's either about money, or it's about health, or it's about relationships. Nothing really different, I'm afraid. I wish people would come and, I've got a very hard, complicated tractate in Sota in page 97 for you to help me with. No one really asked me those questions. They asked me about, I'm finding it hard to get married. I'm finding it hard to have money. I'm finding it hard in my health. It's one of those two. So what do I found? I found that Hashem normally and specifically gives you a harder card in one of those areas to give you the opportunity to pray to him. It's because Hashem loves you. Because then you're like, Hashem, I need you, I need you, I need you, I need you. So what we're saying is someone with a lot of money, yes, they might have the money card, but they don't necessarily have the happy card. They don't necessarily have the health card. They don't necessarily have the relationship card. Whereas, and therefore they can't even take delight in their money. I've got friends that they can't really relax and enjoy their money because they've got so many other issues going on that ironically it hasn't been a blessing. Whereas, says the person who has bitachon in Hashem is assured that he will remain free from afflictions and illnesses. That's what he writes here. However, it's assured that he will remain free from afflictions and illnesses, except when they are to his benefit, either as a form of atonement or as an exchange. So again, let's try and explain this Rabbeinu Bachai and then ask the big question. He seems to be saying the following, that what's the difference between a life with bitachon and a life without bitachon? That a life without bitachon, yes, you might be able to have lots of money, but there's going to be other issues. For sure, other issues that are going to come in, which you won't in the end be able to enjoy your money for that. Whereas, and this is where it's complicated, the person with real bitachon in Hashem, you're going to be fine. And then even when there's other things come in, you understand that there is, it said, a form of kapara, atonement, or it says al derech hatmura, an exchange, which we need to understand what this is about. So let me explain my question, and then we'll get to the answer. My question is the following. When I read this, I literally jumped up in amazement. I was like, what? What are you saying? I was really bothered. I'll be honest with you. I was really bothered because the Chovos HaLevavos seems to be saying that with the person with bitachon, they never have a problem. There's never illnesses. There's never problems in relationships. If you have bitachon, you have everything. Without bitachon, you've always got a problem. And I know that not to be true because I know people that absolutely have bitachon, like this, my friend Yona, He's one of the holiest people I've met in my life. He's a descendant of the Balatanya, direct descendant. He's from there. And he's got the most incredible bitachon, but he's got at the moment terminal cancer. And he's having chemo. So you can have bitachon and be ill. So what's he saying? So this is what he's saying. And this is perhaps the reason why my friend, when I asked him how he's doing, he said, I'm so grateful to Hashem. I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe my ears. I'm so grateful to Hashem. I was like, are you joking? Normally I've got people that I speak to that have got everything in the world and they moan and groan the whole time. And I've got someone with terminal cancer who's so grateful to Hashem. What does that mean? And that means the following. That when you have bitachon, which means, I went to see my new granddaughter this Shabbat. I've got this beautiful, cutest little granddaughter. She's yummy. Her name's Yael. And she looks tiny, 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 tiny. And the cool thing about Yael is newborn, she's so chilled. Because, her mommy and her daddy are just giving her everything she needs and wants. She hasn't got to worry. She hasn't got to worry. Everything, she wants some food, she'll get it. She wants to be in a different position. She just knows she's being looked after. When you have bitachon, you know Hashem's cuddling you. You know Hashem's hugging you. You know Hashem is giving you everything that you need. Not what you want, but that you need. And therefore, everything's okay. Everything's okay. And even if it seems like it's not okay, it's really okay. And therefore, my friend Yona knows that even though he's got cancer, Hashem is the one who gave it to him. And therefore, that's what Hashem feels is best for him right now. And therefore, if it's good enough for Hashem, it's good enough for him. Meaning, this is so deep, my friends, so deep. A lot of people, when they're suffering in life and they're going through challenges in life, the biggest problem is you feel alone. You feel disconnected. You feel you're not being listened to. You feel you're out there on a whim. When I went through a certain trauma a few years back, I felt so isolated. The isolation was so painful and traumatic. Part of the trauma is the isolation. If you think about it, the greatest trauma we went through in the Jewish people is Egypt. And that's why we speak about it every single day. We remember Egypt because we have to remember the trauma in order to heal. Remember the trauma in order to heal. We don't run away. We remember it. And what was the biggest problem of that trauma? We felt we were isolated from Hashem. We were so far away from Hashem. The Jewish people and that's why we started to tragically move into idolatry, which again is connected to the 17th of Tammuz today. When we're isolated, we turn to other gods, tragically, turn to other sources of authority who say, I'll guide you and look after you and nurture you. I was watching a little clip someone showed me of an actor I used to kind of like until I saw it, John Travolta, and he was talking about the wonder of Scientology, how Scientology just protects him from everything. It's mad. He has literally bitachon in these cult leaders who are stealing his money, but he's got bitachon in them. So I think people are looking for bitachon, everybody. You're looking for someone to place your trust into. And if you don't find Hashem, you're going to find other things. Maybe alternative medicines, or then the addict will put their trust in the dealer. So what the Chovah Sabbavis is saying, my friends, if you have bitachon, you have everything, because you know that Hashem is with you, he's sheltering you, he's nurturing you. And then even if there's an illness, it's not an illness which is punitive, per se. It's not an illness which is random. It's not an illness which is unfair. It's not an illness where I'm by myself and there's no one to help you. It's not an illness which is so unlucky. Some people say, like, why me? Anyone have you ever said that, any of you? Like, why me? It's interesting. We don't say why me when things are going well, right? Isn't that interesting? All of a sudden, the Yetzer Hara wakes up when a few little challenges, why me? And we like have self-pity. So what the Chovah Sabbavis is saying is when you have bitachon and then that illness comes, or that challenge comes, or that problem in relationship comes, you say, Hashem, Hashem, thank you so much. King David said, Hashem, thank you for afflicting me, because obviously if this is what you feel is going to help you, Hashem, be served, because our job is to be of service. So if Hashem doesn't want us to be of service in good health, it means Hashem wants us to be of service in ill health. If Hashem doesn't want us to be of service in wealth, it means he wants us to be a service in poverty. Whatever situation Hashem has put you in, Hashem is saying to you, that's how I want you to serve me right now. Serve me from there. That's what my kingdom needs right now. That's what's going to bring Mashiach right now. That's what's going to create unity now. So if you're living in the world of bitachon, and if you're living in this world where you feel like my newborn granddaughter is just being taken care of, you know, my granddaughter doesn't say to her mummy, oh, no, can I have a different baby girl, please? I like the white one, not the pink one. Stop giving me this pink. You know, like, I'm not that girly. I know I'm girl, but I'm not that girly. You know, actually give me a blue one. I like my brother's blue. They don't say that. She's not saying that. She's just happy, whatever mommy gives me, whatever daddy gives me. Don't think she was that happy with me when I like woke her up to play with her on Shabbat, but she was actually cool. She was fine. My wife was holding her, just everything was very calm. My wife was like just letting her sleep. I'm like, no, we have to play. Come, wake up. Right? That's naughty me. But my point is similar with Hashem. Hashem decides how we should play with Hashem right now. Should we be feeling strong and healthy and serve Hashem through being strong and healthy? Or my friend Yonah, Hashem, for whatever reason, wants him to serve him through going to have chemo. And amazingly, my friend is smashing it. His bitachon hasn't been touched. On the contrary, he grows. My father, when he had cancer, he grew with his illness. He showed me more greatness there. He showed me more greatness there than ironically when he was calm, when he was well. But it's not just to show you should be grateful, Sivan, it's to show that right now, that's the tune that Hashem wants us to play in his orchestra. We're all different musicians in this orchestra of life, and Hashem's giving out the sheets, and Hashem's deciding which music we play, and Hashem's deciding what's needed to bring Mashiach, or what's needed to combat what's going on in the world right now. You know, Hashem is very aware of what's going on in Ukraine and Russia, and what's going on with COVID, and what's going on with all sorts of shenanigans in the world. And therefore, a lot of our individual micro challenges are a reaction to what's needed in Hashem's world. And if we were genuinely here to serve, we'd be happy whatever Hashem gave us. You know, my rabbi in Israel taught me something amazing this week, which I'm really trying to process. It's quite hard. He explained that who you are, so let's say Sivan Joss there. Sivan, that's not you. It's not you, sorry. That's your levush. Julia, your name, your label, Roberto, that's not you. That's your clothes, that's your garments. Your name is your garment. Your association to your name is your garments. Your body is your garments. He explained, get to who you really are, which is a source of service, the spiritual source of service, your soul. There's a part of Hashem in you. Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I am Hashem your God. When we say at the end of the Shema, Ani Hashem Elokecha, I am Hashem your God, really you're accessing the part of Hashem in you. That's the real you. That's the real you. And one of the ways you can access it, he explained to me, is if you can just always, let's say someone asks you to do a favor. Try this next time. Someone asks you to do a favor. Sivan's going to ask me a question about this in a minute, but let's start off with what I'm going to tell you. Someone asks you to do a favor, this Kabbalist told me, take your ego aside. Take your agenda aside. Don't say, does this benefit me? Does this benefit Avi Hill, Sivan Joss, Julia, Roberto, James? Don't say, does it benefit me? Just, does it benefit Hashem? If it benefits Hashem, do it. Even if it's inconvenient. And that's, by the way, what altruism is. That's what it means to be selfless, to do things for Hashem as opposed to do for us. And it's the most liberating thing, my friends. It's so cathartic when we can just remove our ego and our name and our narrative from who we are, because that's just clouding the issue most of the time. when I once really, really achieved this level when I was a Yom Kippur, and I just literally floated above who I was, and like Avi Hill was like left away, and the real me went up and had a beautiful, don't know what it was going on in the spiritual world, but it was beautiful. It was so, oh my dear friends, if only you could feel that feeling of liberation, of freedom from yourself. It's ironic. People think, you want to stay in your own narrative. You really don't. If you can just let go of your story and your narrative and go into the Torah story, go into the world of Hashem. I heard Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson ask a question this week. Why is it that we named last week's Sedra Balak over this evil king? It's an evil king. Why don't we have a Sedra named Moshe or Abraham or Yitzchak or Yaakov, or what we called the Sedra Balak? And he explained, because in the Torah, if you're living in the Torah, then Balak in the Torah actually plays a very important part. He's there to help us grow. He's part of the Yitzhara. Balak and Bilam connects to Bala Malek, it connects to the Yitzhara, and essentially, when something is within the context of Torah, where it's in the context of spiritual service, even today on Shivasa B'Tammuz, my friends, when the Babylonians are the ones that on the first temple breached the walls today, and then 490 years later, the Romans came and breached the walls again. The fact those Babylonians and Romans, that was also from Hashem. That was all part of the exiles that Hashem showed Jacob. When Hashem showed Yaakov Avinu the ladder, he showed him the ladder, he showed him the angels going up and down the ladder, he showed him all the exiles coming and going. The world, the core aspects of the world, or this orchestra of Hashem, everything's in the ultimate story that Hashem had before the world, that we are living through. So when you live through the Torah and you step away from your own ego and from your own association and from your own narrative and from your own shtuyot and your own silly, frivolous thoughts, that's when you become great. So Sivan would normally ask me the following question. She'd say, 1 minute. When someone asks you a favor, does it mean you have to say yes to everything? Really, does it mean you have to say yes to everything? I didn't say that. I said, you have to ask, what does Hashem want? And that requires sometimes objective thinking and reasoning. But it's not, what do I want? And that's my point. And I've been guilty of that so often. I've been thinking, is this a good use of my time? That's actually a very secular way of thinking. The spiritual way of thinking is this a good use of time for Hashem, is this a good way to utilize my time to serve Hashem? That's the correct way. But it's not about what's good for Avi Hill or my wife Leah Hill or family Hill. It's about what's good for Hashem. End of. And if we can live our lives, and this is the blessing I give you, my friends, live your life by keep asking yourself the question, is this good for God? And if, by the way, if you say to me, how do I know? Okay, either call me up, one, we'll learn a lot more Torah, learn a lot about the code of Jewish law. The answers are there. In the Torah, the code of Jewish law, it tells us what's good for Hashem. There's 248 mitzvahs, which are good, 365 negatives, which we don't do. All the Shulchan Aruch explains the oral law, explains how we implement that. So really everything's there. As the Chovos HaLevavos says later on, nothing's neutral. Everything's either positive or negative. Everything's either serving Hashem or not serving Hashem. So once you've really learned the story, you learned the manual book, then you'll know how to do it. But critically, what I'm trying to get to, next time someone asks you a favor, don't say, is this good for me? And let me think about it. Just say, is this good for Hashem? And if it is, absolutely, however hard it is, I'll try and do it for you. So now, coming back to the book, so that's what he's writing, which I think is just life-changing. He's explaining that the person without bitachon, the person without trust, when he has issues or she has issues, oh my gosh, they have real issues. Help, no one's there to help me. I'm so isolated. One of the things about COVID, there was such isolation. The person with bitachon actually didn't have an isolation problem in COVID because they're with Hashem anyway. Okay, I'm now in quarantine with Hashem. Who cares? Like, if that's what Hashem wants, that's what Hashem wants. Wherever Hashem places me is where I need to be. I'm like this pawn on the chessboard, and Hashem is putting me like in the corner place. Fine. That's Hashem wants me to serve him from the corner. Hashem wants me to serve him from the center point. Fine. Once you understand we're a pawn of serving Hashem, then it's fine wherever Hashem places us. And that's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. And he brings a beautiful verse from Isaiah, which is chapter 40, verse 30, where he says the following. It says, those who rely on their own resources will never be satisfied. They'll always be afraid. They'll always be isolated. You're on your own. You know, often people say, Hashem, I've got this. Like, I don't need you. Hashem goes, oh, really? You don't need me? Okay. Don't come crying to me when it all goes pear-shaped and you feel isolated. Which, by the way, Hashem doesn't really say that, because you can always come crying to him. But the point is, someone who doesn't realize Hashem's in their life, when things go wrong, they do feel isolated. They feel so alone. Someone with bitachon never feels alone. Never feels alone. And therefore, this beautiful line, listen to this beautiful line from Tehillim. It says, actually from Isaiah, which means those who have hope in Hashem will have renewed strength. Let's say that again. Those who have hope in Hashem have renewed strength. My friends, Yonah has got such strength. He'll fight the cancer, I know he will. Because the faith gives him strength. You can do superhuman things when you have faith. Superhuman, you're not listening to what doctors say, because it really doesn't matter. Who cares what they say? We've got the healer of all the doctors. That's who's healing us. End of. And then he got another line from Tehillim, chapter 37, verse 17, which says, for the arms of the wicked will be broken, but the support of the righteous is Hashem. My dear friends, you want Hashem to support you. You don't want your lawyer to support you, your doctor to support you, your sponsor to support you. You want Hashem to support you. End of. And then you could have a doctor and a lawyer and a sponsor to be there who's also part of the orchestra of Hashem, and they are there to do their job of serving Hashem from their perspective, but it's not them you're leaning on. We have to learn to lean on Hashem. Even as a rabbi, what I try and do for you guys and for my community is help you build a relationship with Hashem. I don't want you building a relationship with me per se, and then I'm the solution. That's not going to help you. You need to learn how to pray yourselves. You need to learn how to access Psalms yourself. You need to know how to access Torah yourself. You need to know how to access your bitachon in your heart yourself. And then if you do that, you'll always be okay. You'll always be okay. I'll read your question a bit later, Sabah. I'm on a roll, as they say, on a roll. Numbers, yeah, Let me want to add something. Yeah, so the Chazon Ish, the great Chazon Ish writes the following. He's written a book. If you like kind of this kind of topic, then he's written a book all about this as well, called Emunah or Bitachon. You could maybe, James, if you put at the Sfaria link to the Chazon Ish's book, Emunah or Bitachon, see if you can find it. It's a classic. And he says the following. He says, one of the advantages of Bitachon is the following. The attitude of acceptance, when something goes wrong and you accept it as this is what Hashem wants, and you trust in Hashem, that doesn't mean necessarily that, my dad got ill. He said to me, just because I have bitachon doesn't mean I'm going to get better. It just means that if Hashem wants me to get better, I will. And if Hashem wants to take me to the Garden of Eden, I will. Do you hear the difference? We're not giving fairy stories here. We're not saying with bitachon, everything's as you want it to be. With bitachon, everything's as Hashem wants it to be. But when it's what Hashem wants it to be, sometimes the amazing can happen in this world, and sometimes Hashem says, no, we don't need to do a miracle. We don't need to do, because actually, I need you upstairs with me. But either way, and this is the point, when you have bitachon, that creates more strength. That gives you a strength. The way he writes it, he says, man can't fathom Hashem's ways. But bitachon means trusting in every situation, that the outcome is completely in Hashem's hands and is not random. So that they say that when a doctor says, I can't help you anymore, that's when it's even better to have bitachon. That's when it's even more likely Hashem's going to step in. Because when you think the doctor's going to help you, you haven't really given it over to Hashem. When the doctor says, actually, there's nothing I can do, at that point, for some people, that's when they say, okay, Hashem, now I can rely on you. And then Hashem says, oh, now I can get busy. Now we can do some cool stuff. Because Hashem will wait for you to hand it over till sometimes Hashem activates his help for you. Which is, by the way, why for those who are listening, it's really important that whatever your challenges are, give your challenges to Hashem tonight. Say, I need your help, and I am relying exclusively on you. You are supporting me, no one else. You are supporting me. And if you really say that, you really mean it. Hashem takes over. Hashem takes over. And that's the phrase, Kaveh el Hashem, Chazak di'ametz lebecho v'kaveh el Hashem. He says it twice. It says, Kaveh el Hashem, if you have trust in Hashem, then Hashem will strengthen you. And then again, you have trust in Hashem. Sometimes Hashem will give you the gift of even added supernatural trust. Because as I said to you, my friend Yonah, it's quite supernatural. He's been told he's got terminal cancer, and he's just happy. He's just joyous. He's just full of gratitude in Hashem. That's kind of not very normal, but he's really having it because he's had enough bitachon. That now Hashem is strengthening his soul with even more bitachon, which is an amazing level, amazing level. Let's go. Seventh difference between the alchemist, so-called, or the criminal, and someone with bitachon. What's another difference? That the alchemist can't trust on his money to buy him anything he needs, as it's possible that he would not be able to obtain his provisions, even with the gold and silver, while the riches that he possesses. Because sometimes, maybe there won't be food available. Weather and wartime, for example, can adversely affect the production. Look at those people with money in Russia, in the Ukraine. You've got them, all of a sudden they're sanctioned, so they've got billions and they can't access it. They've got the most amazing yachts and boats and jets and they can't get in. So what he's saying is, just because you have the asset and the money doesn't mean you can use it. Just like that, Hashem can take it away. Again, what I'd love you to do, as Rabbi Shaul Salanta says, when things happen in life, ladies and gentlemen, ask yourself, what spiritual lessons can I learn from this? So when I saw the Ukraine-Russia stuff going on, and then we saw the sanctions going on, straight away you're meant to say, what lessons does Hashem want us to learn from this? And the obvious lesson, what the Chobos of Obis is saying, you could have all the money in the world, but it doesn't mean you could spend it. If Hashem just like that wants to take it away, just like that, it will be taken away. It's amazing. No one would have believed it a few months ago, but life has changed radically. Chelsea Football Club is no longer owned by Roman Abramovich. Go figure that, for the football lovers amongst us. And there's so many crazy changes that's happened because Hashem is just like flicking a light switch. No, all those like hundreds of billions, I don't let you access it for a while now. Sorry. To teach us that we can't rely on our wealth. And by the way, you can't rely on your health. You can't rely on your relationships. You have to every day be grateful for them. Every day. And every day ask, what can I do today to serve you better with the gift you've given me? Oh my gosh, if you would say that in your davening, let's say the gift, Hashem's given you, let's say a gift of a beautiful relationship. Say, Hashem, how can this relationship be better? How can I can use this relationship to serve you better, Hashem? How can I appreciate it more and appreciate you more? We should never rest on our laurels. And what do? We normally do the opposite. We just take that for granted and complain about the little things that we don't have. We need to do the very opposite. We need to do the very opposite. And therefore, he says, the person with all the wealth doesn't mean they can use the wealth. There's a verse from Yecheskel. It says, they will throw their silver in the streets and their gold will become repulsive. And their silver and gold won't be able to rescue them on the day of Hashem's fury. They will not satisfy their souls. I've got news for you. When Mashiach comes, and if God forbid, there's a bit of carnage and a topsy-turvy, people in trouble won't necessarily be able to use money. During the Holocaust, right, money didn't help. Before there's absolute carnage, money isn't going to buy someone out of a nuclear war. Money can't protect you. The only thing that can protect you will be Hashem. And therefore it says in Spania also, even their silver and even their gold will not be able to rescue them on the day of Hashem's fury. Which again, if you think about it, the 17th of Tammuz was one of the days of Hashem's fury. And the Beis HaMikdash, you have to understand, the first Beis HaMikdash was a world of miracles, my dear friends. We were so close to accessing utopia, accessing just incredible closeness to Hashem, what it will be like when Mashiach comes. But because in a way it was so good, Hashem, to balance it out, gave you a very strong Yetzer Hara. And tragically, we got into idolatry, specifically in the first Beis Hamikdash. We got into connecting to spiritual power, not through Hashem, through your own lusts. And then nothing could save us. Money couldn't save us. Torah couldn't save us. The great tzaddikim couldn't save us. Everything got wiped out. And therefore, at the time of Hashem's fury, nothing's going to help. Money's not going to help. But if you have trust in Hashem, like Rabbi Akiva, during the destruction of the second temple, Rabbi Akiva is being tortured to death. And they're saying, what's your last words, Rabbi Akiva? And he goes, thank you so much, Hashem. Now I can say Shema properly. I've always wanted to say Shema. I love you with all my might. I love you with my body. I would give up my life for you. And I could never say that. And now I can say that. Meaning the Romans didn't budge, didn't shift his bitachon one iota. Because he was living in a world of bitachon. So he said, my in-laws, I think Susan is there. And I was saying, Susan, that when we saw Yael over Shabbat, our beautiful new granddaughter, she's just so calm and tranquil because she knows that she's got the most amazing mummy and daddy who are looking after her. That's how Rabbi Akiva felt. Even in the midst of the carnage, what the Romans were doing to him, he was in Hashem's arms. He says, now at least I can fulfill the mitzvah in the Shema to say, I'm prepared to give up my life for you, Hashem. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Because he wasn't thinking about what's good for Akiva. He wasn't thinking, what's good for me? What's good for my wife? He's not thinking that. He's thinking, what's good for you? And obviously you put me in this situation. This needs to be done for you, Hashem. This needs to create Kiddush Hashem. My dear friends, if we could learn this idea tonight, just to keep saying, if this is good for you, that's good for me. Just take our own name and narrative and associations out of the equation and just keep asking what is good for Hashem. And someone asks you a favor, it's not, is this convenient for me? It's this, is this a good use of my time in serving Hashem? That's the only question we should be asking. That's the question we should be asking. And therefore you got a beautiful verse which says the person that has faith in Hashem, he must be rest assured his provisions will never be lacking at any time in any place until the end of his days. As it says in Job chapter 5, verse 20, in famine, he will deliver you from death. And as King David said, and this is the classic one, everybody, chapter number 23, hopefully you know this by heart now. Hashem ro'i loy echsar. Hashem is my shepherd. I will never lack anything. Just like my granddaughter Yael, she doesn't lack anything. If she's warm, they'll remove the cover. If she's cold, they'll put on the cover. If she's hungry, they'll give her whatever she needs, she'll get. If you have bitachon, whatever you need, you'll get. That's it. Hashem roi, let Hashem be your shepherd, everybody. Say, Hashem, be my shepherd. I'm your sheep. How can I serve you right now? Where do you want your sheep to go? Call yourself a sheep. Try it when you're davening. Hashem, I'm your sheep. Where do you want me to go today? Which field should I graze in today, Hashem? Which stream should I lay and rest today? So I think I've told some of you before, I think it's a bit of a funny story, that a few years back, I was looking to really come to Israel and start being a rabbi in Israel. And it was a bit complicated because, it's expensive to go to Israel and you need money to be able to go and just start. But I said, Hashem, I'll do whatever I can. I said the words in Rosh Hashanah. I said, I'll be Moseh Nefesh for you, which is a good word you should use. Moseh Nefesh means I put myself out. I'll do self-sacrifice for you, whatever it takes. I'll go the extra mile. I'll sacrifice for you, Hashem. That's what I said. Anyway, when I said that, everything changed. This great rabbi, this Kabbalist, saw me a few days later and said, I'd like you to come to Israel. Come to Israel. There's things going on in Israel. I'd like you to come. Get on a plane. So I was like, okay. I said to my wife, do you mind if I just go to Israel for a bit? You okay with that? She thought I was a bit crazy, but she says, sure. So I went off to Israel. We didn't have really the money to pay for the flights. We bought the cheapest flight. And then I didn't really have money to stay anywhere. So I just looked on bookings.com. By the way, don't make this mistake. I look at booking.com and I was like, what is the cheapest accommodation in Israel, in Jerusalem? And I found quite in the center. Oh, right, really quite cheap accommodation. Cool, fab. So I booked that and I got there. My dear friends, it was basically a stable. It was a farm. They definitely, changed the pictures. And I'm there on a bed of hay. And there's animals, clucking around. And at a certain point, I said, Hashem, when I said I'm prepared to sacrifice, I didn't mean this much. I think you misunderstood. I think you think I'm more religious than I am, Hashem, I said. But on the other hand, what I should have said is, okay, great. This is where you want the sheep to graze tonight, which is fine. Because that's our job, which position, which bed Hashem wants you to lay in tonight to be of service. We should be happy wherever we do. We're so spoiled. We go to a hotel. Oh, if the pillows aren't perfect, we're going to sue the hotel. We're going to complain. We're going to call down to reception and say, shocking. We are so spoiled. Because, my dear friends, we're not servants of Hashem. We're servants of our ego. And we're servants of today's spoiled society. So if the meal that you're served in the restaurant, if the hotel isn't giving you the 5-star treatment, we're going to complain. We're going to put huge complaints all over the internet. My dear friends, again, another reason why Mashiach's not come. That's not the way we should be living. We should be Hashem roi lo yechsar. Hashem, you should be my shepherd, I'll never lack. Or another line from Tehillim, chapter 37, verse 19 says, the Chovos of Avos, lo yevoshu be'israv me'ra'ovin yispa'u. They will not be shamed in times of calamity. And in days of famine, they will be satisfied. Meaning, and again, here's the point. It doesn't mean that if you have bitachon, we don't go through challenges. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean there isn't times of famine. We know with Abraham, there was times of famine and he had to go to Egypt. In Jacob's time, there was times of famine. They had to go to Egypt. So even the greatest of the greatest are faced with difficulties. But here's the point. They don't worry. They're not upset. They don't feel alone. They don't feel like being abandoned. They're not, oh my gosh, where do I go? They're like, okay, Hashem, whatever you want, whatever you want. You want me to go to Egypt? No problem. Even though you told me we shouldn't go to Egypt, but now you told me I should go to Egypt, fine. That's the way it is. Abraham and Sarah went straight to Egypt. It's amazing. Hashem said to Abraham, Lech lecha mi'artzecha, leave your father, leave Haran, go off to Israel, and it's going to be amazing. He says, Lech lecha l'toivoscha l'anoscha. He says, you're going to have wealth, you're going to have all the money in the world, you're going to have the best accommodation, it's going to be incredible. Abraham does it. He says goodbye to everybody. He goes with his wife to Israel. What happens? There's a famine. Welcome to Israel. Abraham doesn't say, Hashem, that's it. I'm never going to trust you again. You promised me everything's going to be all right. Do you know what Abraham said? All right, Hashem, now where do you want me to go? Hashem says, go to Egypt. Okay, because he was a sheep. Because Hashem was his shepherd. Go to Israel? Sure. Go to Egypt? Sure. Whatever Hashem wants. Hashem wants you to go to the moon tonight. You say, sure, just send me a rocket. That's it. End of. We can't say, oh, I'm scared of heights. If Hashem asks you to go to the moon, it means you can go to the moon. And it means even if you've got a fear of going to the moon, you can combat that fear. So otherwise Hashem wouldn't ask you to do it. This is deep, my friends. This is transformative. Meaning if your opportunities, genuine opportunities are coming into your life, to be of service, and you feel that it's hard, you feel it's inconvenient, you feel, oh, I'm not sure if I can handle it. You can handle it. So otherwise Hashem wouldn't have given it to you. You think Hashem's playing? He doesn't play. Hashem doesn't play games. Hashem grants you an opportunity. It means that's how Hashem wants you to serve him in this world. And if you say, whoa, I can't do that, Hashem wouldn't have given it to you. Of course you can. We spend so much time deliberating. I don't think I'm worthy of this. I don't think I can handle this. I've got some issues with this. I've got some phobias. Mapitam, Hashem wouldn't give you the opportunity. That means part of your growth is to combat that, to do it. Take yourself out the equation. Sivan, Joss, Julia, James, you don't exist. All the real you is the part of Hashem in you. That's the part which will exist forever. When we leave this world, you don't leave this world as Sivan and Julia and James with your name and your body. You leave this world with your neshama, with your soul, with your good deeds, with your emunah and bitachon, with that slither of spirituality. That's who you are. So let's learn how to be who you are in this world right now. And then you'll get to know yourself, who you really are. And you'll genuinely be of service. And you'll genuinely be, halavai, become a sheep. Next, then he says the following, the 8th advantage. He says the 8th advantage is the person who's the alchemist, the one calling the criminal, who's getting money any way, cannot stay in one place for an extended period of time because he's afraid that his secret vocation will become exposed, right? The criminals, they're always on the run. So you might think, oh, it's so cool being a criminal because they have so much awesome money and they can go to any restaurant and they can go to any club and get what they want for a little bit, and then they have to run. Then they have to run somewhere else, and then they're on the run. But someone who trusts in Hashem, he's secure in his land, and he can remain calmly in his place because of Hashem says, this is where you need to be. This is where your opportunity is. So right now, this is where the sheep needs to graze. This is where the sheep needs to lay. So, it's so easy. Once you got bitachon, life becomes so much easier because you can take your own ego out the equation and your own oh, what's good for me? It's not about what's good for me. And you got this beautiful line, B'tach b'Hashem b'asei toiv, shchein eretz re'ei emunah, which is a line again from Tehillim, chapter 37, verse number 3, which says the following: trust in Hashem and do good, very deep. In other words, it's not enough to you can't just trust in Hashem. You've got to do good. Meaning when Hashem, through the Kabbalah, said, come to Israel, I didn't say, okay, Hashem, whatever you want. But then I still had to do the ticket. And I had to go and sleep in the farm, right? And I still had to go. And for Asay Tov, and then it says, dwell in the land and nourish yourself with faithfulness. It's so beautiful. Instead of we should be nourishing ourselves, and it's interesting today, which is a fast day, you can still nourish yourself today. Just be nourishing with emunah, nourishing with bitachon. And if you think about it, and with this beautiful analogy we've used to our beautiful granddaughter, Yael, a newborn, she's not like saying, Mommy, Daddy, can I have a Deliveroo, please? Can I have the Chinese milk tonight? Can I have, a bit more maybe a nice dessert? Whatever Mommy and Daddy give, she's happy. She's happy. She trusts Mommy and Daddy to give the baby whatever she needs today. That's how we should be with Hashem. We are so million miles away. We're like, what do I want? What do I want? And then all of a sudden, what we want isn't good enough because we're being nourished by ourselves. We're not being nourished by Hashem. Number 9. So I want to finish this part. Number 9, the 9th difference between the alchemist and the one with suffering is the alchemist's comfort is not everlasting because his resulting fortune will not accompany him at his life's end. You can't take your money with you, even the criminal. That's why with the criminal, who are they going to give it over to? Who does the business go to? They can't take it with them. And even in this world, the alchemy can't get anything other than the secure feeling that he's safe from poverty and from meeting the aids of other people. It can't buy him happiness. It can't buy him health. But the one who has bitachon, the reward of his bitachon will accompany him in the next world. My dear friends, we're learning something amazing tonight. One of the most important aspects of your next world is your bitachon. What do I mean? What do you think the next world is? What do you think Olam Haba is? Some people say, people who love going to the beach is like lying down on this beautiful beach in Barbados, in like paradise. No, it's really not that. Sorry to say, it's not that. It's about you and Hashem. It's about being part of that slither of soul, being part of where it comes from, uniting with Hashem. And put it this way. Some of us who sees we're going to be reunited with our loved ones in the next world. Don't you think it will make a difference how our relationship was in terms of how that reunification will be? Someone who struggled with their family, with their parents, and then they're in the next world and they're going to get to see them in the next world. It's going to be a little bit awkward. It's going to be like, hi, how you doing? As opposed to someone who was so close. You know, hopefully it's all right for me for saying, Sivan, I admire your relationship with your mom so much. You've got this beautiful relationship. You're so close. You are so close that when eventually you'll see your mom again, you're going to have the most amazing embrace, the most beautiful, beautiful, close, loving, gorgeous relationship, because that's what it was, and that's what will it be more times 1,000. And it'll be the same thing with us and Hashem. For those of us who, God forbid, don't believe in God or don't rely on Hashem or are kind of absent from Hashem, and then we're going to get there and it's just us and Hashem, a little bit awkward for a lot of people. It's like, what do I do with this? Like, who even are you? Where do we go? Meaning your relationship with Hashem is based on your bitachon in this world. It's based on how much in love you were with each other. It's based on how much of a relationship you had. You know, the people that are praying to Hashem the whole time. You know, my wife always says women are much better because wherever we go, we're talking to Hashem. We don't just daven to Hashem when we go to shul. We're davening 24/7, right? A woman, whenever she's going in the street, she's always in conversation with Hashem. And that's why they're holier. And the point is, someone who's in 24/7 conversation with Hashem, there's going to be so much to talk about. Someone with family abuse, no one in Haba, James, will just be complicated, meaning, let's say the abuser will be embarrassed. That will be hell for them. It will be hell for them. The one who, God forbid, gave abuse will have to go through regret. Will have to go through Gehenna in terms of, what have I done? And it's a place of truth. The next world is a world of truth. It's not the beach. It's not like the best 5-star restaurant ever. It's real. It's you and God. And therefore, the more you've invested in Hashem in this world, the closer you'll be in the next world. The more distant you are in this world, it takes time to build that relationship. You with me? And therefore, the alchemist, he might have so much money, but he can't take that money with him, and he's still going to be left godless in the next world. Whereas the person with bitachon is going to be enriched forever, eternally, has got what everyone's going to be after. You know, those of you, please God, with bitachon, when you get to the next worlds, you'll be the ones on the inner circle. And then those without bitachon will be looking out, wishing they were you. Wishing they were you. So if any of you have ever been to a scenario where you kind of got locked out of a party, or you weren't allowed into this exclusive club, and you were like on the outside, and maybe it happened to you, Julia, right? Like you really wanted to go to this party, and they said, Julia, no, you can't get in. You're not of age, right? You don't know the right person. I've got news for you. That's what Gehenna is going to be like for a lot of people. Hell's going to be like this inner circle with Abraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov and Moshe. And please God, those with bitachon are allowed in that inner circle. And there's going to be so many people on the outer, like wishing they could get in. How can I buy a ticket to get in? I've got news for you. This book is how you buy the ticket. The ticket is called bitachon. Putting your total trust in Hashem. That is what buys the ticket. And that's what gets you that eternal relationship. And just finally, to finish off with the 10th advantage and the final one, that trusting Hashem is better than the alchemist, is the alchemist is not safe for his occupation. If it becomes known, it will bring about his death. Sometimes with a drug dealer or the criminal, actually their wealth could well kill them. Whereas the one with bitachon, when his bitachon becomes known, as we said, you actually become greater in people's eyes. You actually not just become protected, but you become the source of goodness. The people with bitachon, my friends, are the ones who have the secret. You're going to go to those people, please pray for me. That's what Tzaddik Yesod Olam means. The Tzaddik is the foundation of the world. That's why we go to graves of Tzaddikim, because those who have owned bitachon, they now have the source of blessing. That Hashem's sending blessing down. They have the power of blessing. That's why the great Kabbalists in Israel, you go to them and they give you a blessing and it works. Even little me, because it was my birthday on Shabbat, because I was born on the 17th of Tammuz, just to close the circle, which was really Shabbat. So I had a few people around. It says when it's your birthday, it's your mazal, and then you have the power of blessing on your birthday. Have the power of blessing on your birthday. So, because Hashem's given over the power of blessing to those with bitachon and to those who it's their mazal, and to Abraham Avinu's and to the Jewish people and to the Kohanim, there are many of us that have the power of blessing. Anyone that really has bitachon, has real trust, has got a 24/7 relationship with God, has the power of blessing. And therefore you'll find that people will come to you, please pray for me.